We are going to start in the NFL because arguably the biggest news of the entire offseason. Myles Garrett traded to the Rams.
And they've obviously skyrocketed up the odds for winning next year's Super Bowl. And they probably don't even need him, but to have an Aaron Donald coming back.
In my opinion, if Wemby loses this finals, it's a nightmare for the league. He's going to go on an absolute tear trying to get back to the final.
There were so many guys that were super young and already contributing to a national team. You kind of thought, dude, next cycle is going to be the best. I feel like so many of those guys that we did take, they just haven't panned out. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the From the Stands podcast. We are back for episode number 107 of the old pod here on this June 3rd. Fresh into June. Hard to believe it that we're basically halfway through the year at this point. Pretty wild. But we have another jam-packed episode for you guys. Some huge news that's definitely going to tilt the scales in the NFL for one team in particular, and might even scale even more towards their direction in the coming days or weeks. We got some spicy basketball with the NBA Finals now confirmed who the two teams are, much to my chagrin with my Thunder going out. We'll get into that. And then we'll also conclude the old podcast here with a little World Cup talk. Just days away now, about 10 days or 9 days-ish from today. We'll be pretty heavy on the World Cup talk next week, but we'll definitely touch on it a little bit here as the U.S. and several other teams have friendlies and stuff like that going on this week. But Bezzy boy, how are things? Let's get into the podcast here, huh?
Yeah, I do. Big time episode, dude. Like, it was like leading up to the finals. Like, it was just like finals. And then boom, like 2 days before the finals, it was just like the NFL explodes. And obviously, like you just mentioned, we have the World Cup coming up literally in less than 10 days. So super hyped for that. And we will dive into the football action here in just a moment. But if you guys could please like and subscribe on the video, trying to up the subscriber count before the World Cup and during the World Cup, so we would appreciate that. But we are going to start in the NFL because probably arguably the biggest news of the entire offseason. Like, I don't know how it could get bigger unless like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes got traded, but it was kind of a player in that caliber, but just not a quarterback. Myles Garrett traded to the Rams.
Huge.
Once you hear like the backstory, it wasn't really out of nowhere, but to the casual or the fan that isn't like in the ins and outs, like, you know, the Schefters and all those are, it was just kind of out of nowhere. I didn't think that he was going to go anywhere. Obviously, they paid him all that money a year ago. Turns out that was kind of their way of kind of signaling that they were going to get ready to get rid of him. But what was your first reaction when you saw this come down on your phone the other day?
Yeah, obviously for a couple days that they've been talking about just the potential of him being on the move, but I was definitely surprised just who the team was, like just with the Rams already being so loaded. You know, they've always been kind of a, you know, don't care about the picks, trying to build for the now kind of thing, just acquiring all these star players. So that's not necessarily surprising, but just them kind of pulling off a trade of this caliber, I definitely didn't see. I know I'd been tracking on my phone like that day, like I saw something pop up, you know, right in like an hour before the trade. Is like, oh, this is like the, you know, what the Browns are asking for. I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And then like an hour later, you see the trade like official. I was like, what on earth is going on? And like, I was just like,
Right.
the Rams just like, obviously they traded for Trent McDuffie earlier. They get Jalen Watson on the defensive end, which are two pretty solid players. And then obviously, you know, re-upping with Myles Garrett, just absolutely insane stuff. And honestly, like, for what they're getting, pretty cheap. Only one first-round pick. Obviously, they sent Jared Verse the other way, which I was kind of bummed about. I told you I really like Jared Verse, just the player he's become over the last couple years. So it's really kind of sad that he's going to the Browns just to rot over there and just to, you know, kind of wait for his next career move to a different team, hopefully. But yeah, pretty not cheap because versus I would say close to an elite player if he's not an elite player already, but just one first round pick is pretty huge to get Myles Garrett back.
Yeah, I was kind of I wouldn't say upset, but like I do like Verse a lot as well. And he was one of those young guys. Like this is also why the Rams were able to make this deal is because like they don't draft in the first round, like you said. They don't care about the picks. Obviously, you said it in a nicer way than they said it. But like being able like hitting on those picks allows them to do that. Hitting on Jared Verse allows them to go get like a Myles Garrett, which initially my first reaction was like, okay, obviously we're in win now, and we thought they were going to be win now in the draft. This also, side note, this makes the draft make a lot more sense. We could touch on that if we wanted to, but it does make the draft make a tiny bit more sense. But Myles Garrett isn't that old. He's only 30 years old. He like realistically could have another 5 years doing what he does.
Mm.
And he's gonna have to play like half the time because he's not gonna be on the field constantly because he has a quarterback and an offense turning the ball over every other play. So like his longevity is gonna get even longer. He's gonna be able to stay at his peak longer. So like, yeah, this kind of seems like a win now type of deal. But I mean, they got Myles Garrett for another like minimum 3 years in his prime. Could be
Yeah.
more with the sports medicine we have now, but it was sad to see. I don't like seeing Jared Verse, like you said, go to the Browns because like we all know how that organization likes to run things. They don't run it well. So seeing a player of his caliber as young as he is, I hope that he can make something of himself and maybe end up on another team or maybe the Browns figure it out. But does this make the draft make a little more sense to you? I know we talked about it on the pod, but like to you personally, does this make a little more sense why they took a quarterback?
Yeah, I think this is the only way that it does make sense. I'm not really sure if they were necessarily thinking Myles Garrett at the draft. Maybe they were, who knows? But yeah, it definitely makes a lot more sense picking Ty Simpson. But still, like, even if you know that you're going to get a Myles Garrett, like, if you theoretically, you could have still drafted another player that's going to contribute. Like, imagine if they got Bane and now they can pair him with Myles Garrett, and just make that defense even more crazy than it already is. But also, I was also thinking about the salary cap and like how fake it is. We talk about that all the time. Like, obviously, they're acquiring a guy that's on like insane money to pair with how many other guys they already have on insane money, which is pretty crazy. But, if I was the Rams, I still wouldn't have taken Ty Simpson. I still would have taken somebody else, whether it be defense, whether it be offense, whatever. Because technically they didn't trade anything that they got in the draft for Myles Garrett. So like I understand you're going for the future, but again, that was also coming from a guy who's not that high on Ty Simpson. So I felt like they could have just passed on him and gotten somebody later or even waited till next year to draft a successor. But yeah, it does make a little bit more sense if they knew that in hindsight. But still, man, at 13 to draft a quarterback when you're in win now mode, as they've obviously shown here, I don't know. I guess I'm 50-50 on whether or not it still makes sense. But I definitely wouldn't have done it. But you know, I'm not in charge, so.
Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. And it just seems like they're obviously the best roster in the NFL without a question now. So
They
that's
were
not even
before
close.
too, arguably.
Yeah, before and now they just added. Obviously, if you have a chance to get Myles Garrett, like yeah, Jared Verse is a great up and coming young player. He's already a 2-time Pro Bowler in like his first like 3 years in the league or something like
Yeah,
that. Has it been
exactly.
3 years? Something like
Yeah,
that
I think he's going. Yeah, at least 3.
going into season 4. But yeah, I mean he's a great player in his own right. But if you're getting the defensive player of the year, 2-time defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett, who's walking into the Hall of Fame as soon as he's done,
Alien.
and yeah, just insane freak athlete. And they got tons of riches over there, but they might be adding to it because when I saw this pop up, I was like, okay, all the NFL fans are going conspiracy route, just trying to get clicks. But as things started coming out more, he was actually talking about being interested in it. And I'm talking about Aaron Donald coming out of retirement and played with
Yeah.
Myles Garrett. If that happens, the Rams win the Super Bowl, right? Like they
I
gotta.
mean, yeah, they'd have to. I mean, they've obviously skyrocketed up the odds for winning next year's Super Bowl, and they probably don't even need him. But to have an Aaron Donald coming back, and everybody's freaking out like he's going to be same old Aaron Donald. He is 35 now, which is a little bit
Yeah.
older. Obviously, he stays in shape like no other person that's in retirement that you've ever seen. But it will be interesting to see because he's always been staunchly against coming back. Like he's had multiple
Mm-hmm.
opportunities to come back to the Rams. Obviously, they've been contenders for a little while now, and he always says no. But he's got even him kind of turning his head a little bit, being like, oh, like I could line up on the other side of Miles Garrett and have an all world defense behind me as well. Like just to see him, that defense would just be absolutely insane. And even if we got 70% of what Aaron Donald was, I mean, the guy played 10 seasons, made All Pro like 9 years, like. Just we talk about Miles Garrett being otherworldly. He was otherworldly before Miles Garrett, so that'd be just insane if he joined forces with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a wrap on the 2026 season. Like, I mean, you got the MVP Matthew Stafford, which now it doesn't even matter how Matthew Stafford's playing. He could decline and like that offense will still be pretty good, but your defense is just crazy. And one could say that the defense was, especially the pass rush last year, if you're nitpicking with the Rams, who were like you said, a really good team already, if you're nitpicking, that was the thing that was kind of like a weakness. Like they had a bunch of young players that could get to the quarterback, but it was a little slow. If you had Aaron Donald and Miles Garrett, two guys that could take on double teams and still get to the quarterback in a fast fashion, like
Right.
it's a wraps from there. And then they just paid McDuffie, shored up their secondary. Like now their defense is probably the best part of their team, and like their offense is still out of this world as well with Puka,
Yeah.
Devontae, Kyron
Kyron. Yep.
Williams, and oh my goodness, dude, the Rams are a complete wagon at this point. And
Yeah.
do you
It,
think? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it'll be good to see Miles Garrett finally on a team that actually has a shot now, because obviously
Yes.
he was in purgatory over there on the Browns by choice. By the way, he had a chance to
Mm-hmm.
get out when his contract was up, still re-upped, but obviously it's kind of working
Got
out for him
paid.
now. But it'll be good to see him on a contender.
Yeah, he got paid back when he was trying to get out for the first time. So he made his
Yeah,
money, and now he's going to go win probably one of the easiest Super Bowls we've ever seen. So
maybe
at
still got to play the
SoFi,
games, still got
still
to
got to
stay
play the
healthy,
games.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
but on paper, it looks
yeah.
like it might just be kind of easy for
One of
them
the
to
most
play.
stacked teams maybe in my lifetime in the NFL.
Well, it's hard not to think that when their GMs literally playing fantasy football out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
crazy.
want Miles Garrett, and oh yeah, I have the NFL MVP on my team, and Puka
Yep.
Nacua, and oh my goodness, absolutely crazy. Just adding a game record like that to your team definitely ups your odds for sure. And speaking of game records, and upping odds, the Patriots, who were in the Super Bowl last year, kind of like you know outkicked their coverage when it came to expectations for that season. Obviously, have a lot of good young players, but just added a really, really solid vet and a great wide receiver in AJ Brown this past week. This was kind of like, if this happened and Miles Garrett didn't happen, this definitely would have been the biggest news of the offseason. But obviously, it has to take second best to Miles Garrett. But how are we feeling about AJ Brown going to the Patriots? That really, I think that helps them out a ton, especially Drake May.
Yeah, yeah, finally get their number one, which they haven't really had for a long time there. I guess you could say Stephon Diggs was their number one last year, but he's a little bit, I would say,
Busy
a little bit
beating
beyond the
women.
hill as far as his best years. But yeah, obviously a huge pickup for them. It's been widely reported on for months. Also coming with scandal about that, but we'll leave that for another time. But yeah,
Yeah.
obviously we've known for quite a while that basically on June 1 they were going to announce the trade. Obviously, this helps out Drake May a lot. AJ Brown is still a great receiver. The only kind of reservation that I have is just, he's kind of your typical diva wide receiver. Like the very minute that he doesn't get at least 5 or 7 targets a game or whatever he thinks that he should be getting, like he's going to be kind of causing a stink about it. Obviously, everything's great now because he just got traded there and everything. He's back with Rabel, yada yada. But dude, if you're not happy winning Super Bowls and getting to Super Bowls on the Eagles with an absolutely, like, we think the Rams are stacked now. The Eagles have kind of been stacked for a couple years now. Obviously,
Yeah.
they have just the one Super Bowl to show for it. But if you're not happy on the Eagles, where like you have guys at every position and a great ownership group, and you're winning a decent amount of games every year and get into the Super Bowl and stuff, like it's going to be pretty hard to satisfy a guy up in New England. But I guess as long as he's getting his targets, that's all he really cares about. But I would just say tread lightly when it comes to old AJ Brown. You don't really want to make him upset, or he might just blow your whole team up like he did the Eagles last year. But great
Facts.
pickup on the field, at least. From a football perspective, for sure.
Yeah, I think he'll like his life in New England a lot better than he did the the Eagles just based on the fact that you have a competent coach, but also their OC is one of the best, if not the best, to ever really do it in recent NFL history.
Yep.
And he's gonna find ways to. I mean, AJ Brown 1-on-1 is unguardable. He's absolutely
Yeah.
unguardable. He's kind of like the wide receiver version of like Gronk a little bit, where it's just like if you have him 1-on-1, he's just gonna find a way to get open. Or I mean, he's such a big wide receiver that he just bullies anybody. Usually corners are a little bit smaller because they need to react and be faster and be more dynamic, but he just kind of bullies everybody that he's faced up against. And he's been quoted as saying that's where he gets most enjoyment, is just like demoralizing cornerbacks. He was like, yeah, the Super Bowl was a great experience, but you know, where I get my kicks is really just from making people look like fools. And I was like, that's a little bit of a sicko there, but good for him.
It'll benefit him too to have a good quarterback that's throwing on the ball too,
Yeah.
because Jalen, I mean,
Someone that
he
can see
was
over the middle of the
not
field.
great. Yeah, exactly, and doesn't want to just tuck it and run all the time. But
Yeah, yeah. I know you're holding that in. The Cowboy fan had you is ready just to rip Jalen a new one, but
I
we'll wait
mean, I
until the
think it's
season for that.
pretty widely believed now that Jalen is not elite. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. I think Jalen's hit his ceiling, and he's
Yeah,
kind of the sum of a great roster that got to the Super Bowl. And it was really the defense that was the star of that Super Bowl win. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Jalen put up some numbers, but like, I don't
He
know
did play
if
well in both the Super Bowls that he
he
went
did.
to, but getting there, I don't necessarily think he was, the sole reason, more of a
Oh,
reason. But
absolutely not. And we were talking in the group chat with the boys earlier when before AJ Brown was traded, and Peter who is the Patriot fan, kind of was just like, you know, is there a chance AJ Brown stays? And I was like, I think the relationship between him and Jalen is pretty bad. So they would
yeah,
have to get rid of Jalen, and they don't have a quarterback other than Jalen. So it's like I'm pretty sure he's on his
yeah.
way out, regardless if it's the Patriots or someone else.
Yeah, or someone else. That's what I was gonna say. Is like I don't think he was ever really staying on the Eagles. There's a lot of Eagles that were saying that it's kind of a relief now because everything was kind of up in the air, but now that it's something finally happened, it's kind of more of a relief. But yeah, I don't think he was ever staying. It was either the Patriots or getting traded somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Lastly, on the football topic, or football part of this podcast, I should say, I just threw in this question because people were talking about how like Stefon Diggs really helped Allen out in Buffalo, kind of make that next step. This is kind of a different scenario because I mean, Allen won MVP and literally like runner up was Drake May. But do you think this really will help Drake May as a young quarterback take the next step, having a true number one? Like we alluded to, Stefon Diggs was kind of their number one, but like he's a little past his prime, coming off an ACL injury and all that. But having like a true AJ Brown number one game wrecker on your team, do you think it's gonna help out Drake May, even though Drake May almost won the MVP last year?
Yeah, I think it can only help. I mean, his group of wide receivers that he had to throw to last year outside of Stephon Diggs were, mid tier like role players, kind of, I guess you could kind of say, if you're going to use an NBA term, to throw to. So I think it can only help him. I think once he gets a lot of the timing down with AJ Brown and everything, I think it'll definitely help him to throw to such an elite wide receiver who can not only is good in the short routes, but can also at times take the top off as well. So, and we know how good he is with throwing the deep ball.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, those are two teams that are definitely some of the favorites to go back to the Super Bowl. For the Patriots, go back since they were in it last season. And obviously, the Rams were knocking on the doorstep until losing to Seattle, who was inevitably the Super Bowl champ last season as well. Rams obviously helped their odds a ton. They were the favorites going into the offseason. They're obviously the favorites going to be coming out. Patriots are right up there with them. So it's going to be a fun season to kind of tune into all the storylines. Rams 7 games in prime time. That was even before the Myles Garrett. So lots of screen time for them, lots of prime time slots for them. So that's gonna be fun watching the Rams come this NFL season this September. All right, we're going to switch gears now to the NBA. We're going to do a quick little recap on Game 7 because this is what basketball was all about. Obviously, last podcast, it was right before Game 7. We talked about who we thought would win. Obviously, Sam went with his OKC Thunder. I picked the Spurs because I really wanted them to win, even though I didn't think they were going to. But Wemby saved basketball. Yeah, the Spurs end up knocking off OKC, who really there was a few players that were a no-show in game 7. Spurs came to play, end up getting it done. Really held on to the lead for it was close there a couple times, but really held on to a pretty sizable lead most of the game.
Yeah.
A lot of the role players played really well away from home, and that was kind of something that we highlighted going into the game. But initial reaction, Sam, obviously that whole Saturday was kind of tough for you watching Arsenal losing the
Yeah,
champs, and
dude,
now
going
then
freaking 0 for 2.
and then OKC falling in Game 7, coming up short. What do you got to say?
Yeah, obviously that sucked. Obviously, kind of going into it, I was pretty confident in, especially the role players that we had, that we were going to shoot really well. Obviously, being at home, and then also that their role players weren't going to shoot as well, and that was going to kind of be the thing that kind of tilted things back into our direction. I always thought that Shea was going to show up, and I mean, he was MVP Shea, in Game 7, which I like to see, but he basically got, I mean, absolutely no help from any of his guys. I mean, Chet Holmgren, obviously, that's been widely covered over the last several days, taking only 2 shots, 4 points. Obviously, he was in his head. Wemby was in his head. And he didn't take any shots in the second half, which is, you can't have that from when he basically the second option with Jay Will and AJ Mitchell out. So
No.
we definitely needed a lot more from him. Hartenstein never got into the game like he usually does. Um, Terrible from 3, just everybody basically except for Shea. So just not getting the bench production like we usually do. And then, the Spurs guys came to play too, like several guys. I mean, the timing of their threes were just so killer. Like we go on a little,
Mm.
4 or 5 point run there, 5-0 run, and then Keldon Johnson would hit a couple corner threes, or like, Champagny. I mean, dude, I feel like every time he hoisted a 3, he was hitting, like the whole series. So just insane stuff overall from them. Big props to them. I feel like we did actually okay on
Mm-hmm.
Wemby in this game, but ultimately just didn't have enough production. Like I said, SGA was great. He I didn't really see any flops, and he was hitting some really really tough shots. So I think a lot of people were happy to see him play like a quote unquote clean game where he was just MVP Shea, because he's shown that he can do that.
Yeah.
And just a clean game from him, but ultimately wasn't enough, just for the reasons that I kind of laid out there. But what do you have to say, especially about Chet being an absolute no show here? Obviously, he hit that one pretty nice little jumper, and then he
Mm-hmm.
missed something right after that, and basically just said, "Nah, I'm good. Peaced out. Rest of the game."
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like a lot of people point to him
Mental.
getting dunked on by Wemby, and kind of just like that took
Yeah.
the wind out of his sails and kind of took him out of the game. But like that was so early on in the game. Like I
And
can
he's done that to
imagine.
him before this series. Like, I don't
Exactly. And
know.
I can imagine that, like, okay, nothing's going down, and then Wemby dunks on your head in like the third quarter, and you're like, okay, now I'm done. But this was like 5 minutes into the first quarter, he misses his like one of 2 shots the entire game, and then he gets dunked on, and then he's just a no show for the entire game. And like you alluded to, Shea did absolutely everything. I had no problem with Shea in this game. Again, he wasn't foul baiting as much. I think he realized he couldn't. Like he was just like, I got to get going. Like
Yeah.
no one's come to play. Casey Wallace was kind of like he was hitting
He kept
threes
us
late in
in
the
it for
game.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It would have been nice if he could have gotten going. But if Shea had any more help, I'm not saying they would have won, but the game would have been a lot closer. Like it kind of
Yeah.
felt like the Spurs had a hold of that game and never really let it go. To be
Yeah,
honest.
McCain never got going either. He's been such a
Yeah.
big piece to us winning the few games that we did in this series. But yeah, just going back to the Chet thing. I mean, I just don't get it, because like there's several times, like it's kind of been a thing where he doesn't really want to go up against Wemby, and that's fine. I don't really blame him for that. We talked about that last episode, but he's been so good at like finding other ways to get involved in the game, like getting off, on other guys guarding him and stuff, and like that. I forget which game it was. It was either 4 or 5 where he went on a streak where he just hit everything. I mean, he was like
Yeah.
6 for 6 at one point, and just making really good mid-range shots for the most part, kind of sliding under when Wemby would go to help, and just getting a wide open dunks. But I mean, absolutely zero. It's like he didn't even want to try to do any of that, which
Yeah.
is just a terrible look. In a game seven like that when more people are watching than ever. But do you think a lot of people are trying to put him in trade packages to the Bucks to get Giannis back, and everybody's down on Chet right now, but the truth is he's not. He's third team All NBA, first team All Defense. Like, he's not a bad player. He just
Yeah.
has a little Wemby problem right now.
Yeah. Um, no, that's exactly where I was gonna go though, is if you put him with some of your other pieces, and then OKC has picks for days, which is what the Bucks want because they want to rebuild their team, especially if they're gonna give up Giannis, who is their entire team.
Mhm.
But I think other than the Spurs, the biggest winners in this whole thing were the Bucks because and Giannis. Like his trade value went through the roof just because he's really the only one other than Jokic, and Jokic isn't going anywhere, but he's really the only one with like the size, like both in muscle and
Strength,
height,
yeah.
like to deal with Wemby. And
Yeah.
like Wemby's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future, so a lot of teams are going to be in the Giannis sweepstakes just trying to get him. And I think OKC they have everything that they can, like they can give like, even if you throw Chet in there, then you can throw someone else in there, two really good young players that you can build around, build a future with, and give them picks to add to their team. So right, like if you're doing business with OKC, then you're like your future is set, in my opinion, just because they have so many picks to give up coming up down the road.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely the first thing that, more than likely we're not going to trade Chet just because he's been such a big piece for
Right.
several
And
years
you're
now, and
paying
all
them a
the
lot,
guys
aren't
want him
you?
back. Yeah, we're paying him a lot. But I would just say that he needs to put on like 25, 30 pounds. Like, if we're just basically going to be like, all right, we're just going to prep you to face Wemby, or just to,
Yeah.
be more of a body down there, put on 25, 30 pounds. Because even some of the shorter guys were just kind of bumping him a little bit, and he'd kind of go flying. So, but yeah, I don't think that we're gonna trade for Giannis, just because it kind of goes against everything that our front office is about, and just kind of, obviously we do trade. We've traded for like guys like Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, that kind of thing, but we
Hmm.
haven't in such a long time. We've kind of been a build through the draft, and just kind of when it's the right time, kind of building through role players and things like that. But I actually think, obviously, Giannis's stock went up as far as like if the Thunder were to get him or try to make a move for him. But I don't think
Hmm.
the Bucks have that much leverage. Obviously, their team is absolutely in shambles outside of Giannis. I think that they would be fine getting 2 or 3 first round picks, and then like a Lou Dort, or like somebody
Yeah.
like that who's just like a good contributor, not even like maybe a star player, just because. And on top of that, they don't have any first round picks in like the next 5 years, bro.
No.
So they're like, not only does their roster absolutely suck except for Giannis, but they have no future, which is like a terrible spot to be. So maybe that makes them demand, 4 or 5 first round picks as well. But I don't know if you're going to get somebody to pay that in the market that we're in, where he is getting older, so it's not like everybody's going to mortgage their future just to get him and just kind of build around him. He's going to be more of like maybe a two. But I I don't know. I've kind of been torn on whether or not, like, if we do send Chet away to like the Bucks, like, obviously that's great. We get Giannis, like that's a huge body to put up against just Wemby, but then you're also giving away Chet, who's a really, really good player, and he's way, way younger. But I did want to get your take on one more thing. What about since we're, everybody wants to trash on the Thunder for the last several weeks. What do we think about Wemby and his kind of flopping around there in Game 7? There's several little clips there where I was like, are we gonna keep the same energy for this man's over here too? Who, by the way, he's been doing it all season. It just doesn't get the coverage.
Yeah.
Or are we just gonna kind of brush that under the rug too? Which also, you freaking elbowed my man Hartenstein in the face and still somehow got free throws. So we're just gonna leave that where it is.
Yeah, I mean, I remember texting you when I watched him flop, and I was like, what are we doing? Like Wemby's the one flopping and Shea's not in this game. Like we're just it's gotta go both ways. Like that's my biggest thing as kind of like more of a casual NBA fan. Is just like I just want to see it go both ways. So like if Shea's getting all the calls, then like when someone else flops and tries to foul bait, like I don't know, call those as well. But Yeah, I texted you right away when I saw that in Game 7. I was just like, Wemby's out here flopping like a baby giraffe trying to walk. Like, what are we doing? Why aren't we keeping the same kind of like what you said? Why aren't we keeping the same energy for him when it comes to Shea? I think a lot of people just like to hate on Shea because it's a popular thing to do on social media now,
For sure.
and it drives clicks. And I've been
I,
prone to make a few reels about that as well. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm here for calling things evenly, and if Wemby's about to start flopping all over the place, then we need to buckle down on that as well. It needs to be a league wide thing, not just a Shea thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to be interesting. Like once Wemby wins, let's say he wins this year, and everybody starts inevitably hating them next year because that's kind of how this whole thing goes. Everybody loves to build
Yeah,
up the new and upcoming team, and then they win or win too much or beat your team, and then everybody hates them. But the clips that they're going to dig up on Wemby flopping and like doing quote unquote unethical thing, because they're out there already. That just
yeah,
doesn't fit a
the
narrative.
goaltending and
But
stuff.
it's gonna be funny when we're sitting here a year and a half from now when they've won a title and now everybody hates the Spurs with a passion like they do the Thunder. It'll be interesting. I'll be there for it, just for the what goes around comes around kind of thing. But yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, everyone likes to hate on whoever's hot, whoever just won the championship. Like that's probably part of the reason that we haven't had a dynasty in eight years, or
yeah.
will be 8 years. Whoever wins this one will be the
Good
eighth
old Adam
different.
Silver doing his job.
He's doing his job, and I love it, which is a good segue into the NBA Finals between the Spurs and the Knicks. Obviously, Game 1 is happening now. We're going to kind of talk more about the series as a whole, because when you guys listen to this, which will be tomorrow, once we put it out, Game 1 will already have happened. Currently, I just looked at the score. Almost, not quite halftime yet. 28-31. Is that correct? Maybe I need to
Yep.
refresh. 28-31 in the second. So pretty close game. Seems kind of low scoring for for a finals game, but obviously it was going to be defensive minded anyways. But going into this series, how do you? I guess how I want to phrase it is like, who do you think has the edge? Obviously, Spurs coming off a longer series in Game 7, Knicks having the rest. Obviously, the Spurs have Wemby, but the Knicks have size. Like so, kind of the topic around this series has been like trying to find who really has the edge. Which, like, for a casual, it's like who cares who has the edge? If it's pretty evenly matched and we get 7 games of this, perfect. But in your opinion, like, who do you kind of lean towards having the edge and winning this thing?
Yeah. It's so
It's
hard to
hard.
pick because there's so
It
many
is.
things that, yeah, that could go one way or the other. Like you think about the Knicks and how they've had all this time off, and then you're like, oh, they're super rested. But then at the same time, you're like, is that a bad thing? Because then,
Right.
like, they are they too complacent now? They're going to come out flat, kind of thing, which doesn't seem like they have in this game. Obviously, I haven't watched too much of it yet. But you have that, and then you also have like the size of the Knicks. They can throw, more bodies at Wemby, which we couldn't do except for maybe Hartenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they have Towns, who isn't a great defender, but he's at least a body. And then they have Mitchell Robinson, who looks like he is going to play this series. I don't know how much. He might be on a minutes restriction, so you have that. I think the Spurs are deeper than the Knicks are, just with their bench and how many guys can kind of come on and contribute. But I just think the Knicks are going to be. I also think about it from the mental perspective and like seeing, obviously, the fact that the Spurs overcame a 7-game series with us and just how emotional it was. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like, Jared even texted me, is like, man, these guys are celebrating like they won the championship against us. And he's like, well, that
Yeah.
they probably feel like they do. Like that was the real NBA finals. I was like, well, I guess that's a point to an extent, but like then you think of like the Spurs going to be thinking that they already kind of won something and come out flat against the Knicks. So there's all these kind of talking points you think about to who has the edge, but I would give the edge just slightly to the Knicks just because they're a little bit more experienced. I think um, they're well rounded just like the Spurs are, but have a little bit more, just some better, I guess, offensive production, a little bit more consistent offensive production. So as far as a prediction, I don't know if we're going to go that direction or not, but I definitely think it's going to be a long series, probably 6 or 7 games. At this point, you can kind of expect that. But I would give the slight edge to the Knicks.
Slight edge to the Knicks. I like that. I like that. I'm obviously rooting for the Knicks just because based on like where I grew up and stuff, and the Knicks haven't won in a very long time. I know the Spurs haven't been there in a minute, but it's been longer for the Knicks, so it'd be cool to see them just for basketball in general
The
get
Spurs had a dynasty. I don't need another one.
yeah, exactly. It's about time the Knicks got something to really, dig their teeth into. Obviously love the Villanova boys and kind of the story behind all of them playing together. Was super upset when they got rid of DiVincenzo,
Dude,
dude.
rip Dante,
Oh,
bro.
rip Dante. But yeah, I think I'm leaning the Spurs though. I just saw what Wemby did, and like I think whoever came out of OKC and the Spurs series,
Mm.
I just saw the Knicks kind of had an answer for either team, and I think like OKC was kind of like a better team than the Knicks in my opinion, but kind of was like what the Knicks are going to do to the Spurs. Like they got size to throw at them. Castle's going to take Jalen Brunson, kind of try to shut him down. So I think we already kind of saw the Knicks versus the Spurs in the last series. And so that's why I'm kind of leaning the Spurs to win, even though I want the Knicks to win, but I'm leaning Spurs because they also have just a generational talent in Wemby who, when he obviously decides to put his mind to it and locks in, like is out of this world, no pun intended, because they call him the alien. But so I think I'm leaning the Spurs, but I really hope it goes at least 6 or 7 because I think this has the makings of being one of the better finals that we've had in recent memory for sure. But I had this thought the other
Better
day.
than Pacers and Thunder going 7?
I think the fact that Halliburton got hurt kind of like
Yeah, I guess.
doesn't taint isn't the right word because it got all the way to a game 7. But I just like it kind of like ruined it in a sense. Like it was like this build up, and then in the first quarter he goes down, and like OKC won that game pretty easily.
And the
And it
fact
was
that
just
he
like,
was nuclear from 3 in those like 5 minutes he played was
I
like
know
everybody wants to say that,
he was
if,
gonna go for
if he
40.
was, yeah.
I don't know if he was gonna go for 40, and OKC still probably might have still won.
Sure started out good.
But it sure started out like a all-time game 7, and I think we were ripped of that, and so it kind of takes away from it in my mind. So whether
Yeah.
that's right or not, whatever. But I did want to run something by you because I was thinking the other day, and you kind of alluded to it. Wemby was very, let's just say, happy when he beat OKC. You saw him crying, getting super emotional, this, that. So obviously he cares a lot. And obviously if he had lost that, he would have been devastated, yada yada. A lot of people are. He just seems a little over the edge. But in my opinion, if Wemby loses this finals, it's a nightmare for the league. Because just imagine like the Western Conference Finals, he's crying like they just won the finals. But if he actually loses the finals and he's like, I hate losing, and I believe him when he says it because just seeing how emotional he is, like he's going to go on an absolute tear trying to get back to the finals. And I don't think the league's ready for that. Like, I don't know. Like, does that make any sense to you? Like, just the
Yeah.
fact that, like, he's just going to be so hungry if he loses that it's just going to make him even more locked in and psycho.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. Obviously, he showed even before the Thunder series that he cares a lot about winning and getting to championships. But I think it'd be a better storyline if he did lose this first finals,
Mm,
and then he's just like that guy that's trying relentlessly to get back and to finally get over that hill, kind of like LeBron did for a long while in his career.
yeah.
But yeah, and he's still only 22. I think a lot of people kind of forget. I definitely forget that he's only 22. I feel like he's
Facts.
more of a 24, 25-year-old in my mind. But just the fact that he is so young and he does still have a lot more time to come back with a vengeance and with a Spurs team that is also so young. Obviously, they've had top 5 picks the last 3 years in a row. So they've obviously been able to stack a lot of talent on that roster, and obviously getting Fox in the trade as well. Like they've got a team that can really compete for a long while. But yeah, I agree. If he loses this final, getting a taste of what it's like to be there, he'll definitely be scratching and clawing to get all the way back. But I also think that if the Knicks win, like that's going to be, I mean, having we always talk about the big market teams and everything, but the fact that the Knicks haven't been there since '99, just the fact that
Yeah.
they're in the finals is huge, obviously for the NBA. But if they won one as well, like that would be big for them as well.
Yeah. I keep always mistakenly saying the Knicks haven't been to a championship in 50 years, but it's been like 50 years since they've won one. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, they've haven't
Okay.
won one since I think '73 somewhere. It was the '70s, but they went to two in the '90s. They went to the finals and lost. So
Gotchas. Okay. It's about dang time. They need one. They
yeah,
freaking need one. It's kind of like one of those things we always talk about, like the league's better if a certain team's good, and like it's cool to see the Knicks good and in a finals again, especially in
hmm
our lifetime. Obviously, the last time they were in one, we were freaking born. But that's a good way to switch gears to the Knicks. We've obviously touched on Wemby, touched on the Spurs, yada yada. But another thing I kind of wanted to bring up to you was there's been a lot of talk about Jalen Brunson, and I feel like he's kind of been doubted his entire career, college, early NBA, and now he's with the Knicks and he's leading them to a finals. But a lot of people are talking about, can an undersized guard the size of Jalen Brunson be a 1A in a finals and get their team over the hump and win an NBA finals? And I kind of thought, like, my opinion, that's kind of ridiculous. I think he's had a good body of work to show that he actually he can be a 1A. He's already a 1A, and he is a superstar in this league. I mean, we saw flashes with the Mavs, and then they traded him to the Knicks, and then he just took off from there. But what's your opinion kind of on this whole Jalen Brunson being undersized? Can he take his team to the top?
yeah, I definitely think he can. I think just the fact that he's in the finals right now has shown that he's
Right.
obviously you can win and go really far. Why wouldn't you be able to knock off one more team and be able to win? So I definitely think that what he provides offensively can just the different ways that he can score and we talk about all these floppers all the time. He's kind of a flopper too, knows how to get to the line, and just kind of
True.
be able to there's just many different ways that he can score. Some of his playmaking abilities, I think, is kind of a point of contention for a lot of people. But I absolutely think that just again what he's done so far, they've kind of gone pretty deep the last couple of years too. But being able to get to not just a conference finals, but to be able to sweep the conference finals and then obviously get to the NBA finals as well. Again, why couldn't he knock off one more team and prove all the doubters wrong? But being the main reason that your team is winning is obviously pretty impressive at that size in the NBA though for sure.
Yeah, especially in the market like the Knicks too, where they just
Right.
love to crush you, and he's been able to be, one, very good at basketball, but two, handling the media in that way. Like,
Yeah.
definitely right up there when it comes to all time great Knicks, and especially if
And
he wins the finals.
yeah, and him getting to a finals too has kind of reignited all the pictures of him and Luca on the Mavs. And just it's insane what they had, and now
Yeah.
they don't have any of it because Nico decided that he didn't like either of them. So
Nico sounds more and more like a plant by somebody to just destroy
that's
the
what I've
Mavericks
been
as a
saying.
whole. It's like conspiracy there. Nico just was flown in from Nike and was like, "Here, absolutely dismantle them for the next 4 or 5 years." And you know, the NBA had to drop them Cooper Flag just to keep them relevant in the NBA. But
Preaching
besides
to the
all that,
choir.
yeah. But looking forward to a great NBA Finals. I know we kind of said who we think is gonna win. But to kind of solidify it before we get out of the basketball, obviously you're edging the Knicks, and I think you said how many games, but just remind me. Did you say Knicks in
I didn't say
six?
how many games, but I'll just say
Okay.
7 because I think it's going to be that
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, all right. So Sammy Boy has the Knicks in six. Or Knicks in seven. I'm gonna go Spurs, and I actually don't think they get to seven. I think the Spurs figure them
Mm.
out, and Wemby just decides that he doesn't want to do another 7 game series, and they end up ending it in six. So those are our official predictions for the NBA Finals. Obviously, we'll be covering it right along with the World Cup, which we will hop into now. The World Cup starts next Thursday. Is that what we saw before podcast?
Next
Next
Thursday, yep.
Thursday on the
8
11th.
days.
The World Cup is on home soil. Well, I guess stretched across North America with Mexico. Obviously, the first game going down in Mexico. Is it Mexico and South Africa? Is that what it
Yep.
is? just
Yep.
like 2010,
Refresh of
right?
2010.
Oh my goodness, what a World Cup, dude. I'm getting so like I'm just watching all the reels and stuff on Instagram and social media, and I'm just getting super pumped up. Obviously, the biggest thing was just the ticket prices and the fact that like probably not gonna be able to go to a game. But now I'm kind of getting into like, okay, I can't go to a game, but still can enjoy it. Like I've enjoyed all the other ones I haven't been able to go to, and I'm
Yeah.
getting super excited. Um, Especially for the US. They had a friendly Saturday or Sunday this past weekend, one of those days. My mind's losing track of days, but we played Senegal, and we just wanted to touch on this because it was a little sketchy there for a little bit. Obviously, we went 2 up in the first half. Senegal came back with a brace by Sadio Mane. We were able to tuck one away to get a 3-2 win, but neither one of us really kept huge tabs on the game. But like just looking at the game as a whole, like through social media and the score, do you think this is a bad sign for the U.S. or a good sign?
Obviously it's a good sign. Obviously we won the game. I
Dub,
feel like we
yeah,
haven't had a game to discuss that we've won in quite some time. So it's a good thing that we've at least been able to win that. But I like you said, I wasn't watching it super closely. I was just kind of score watching and then watched a little bit of highlights afterwards. But apparently guys were saying that this is Senegal's B/C team that they were rolling out there, which
oof,
I guess makes sense to an extent, but I'm like, I mean, there's still Sadio Mane is out there and a couple other guys I
yeah,
recognize. So it's not like completely a team that, you don't really know who they are. But I looking back, I did think that there's several guys, especially in their back line, that aren't necessarily going to be starting opening day in the World Cup. But either way, I think it's good that we at least got a dub, got some good flow. I think Pulisic having an assist and a goal against whoever we play is going to be a good sign, just
yeah,
because of the goal drought that has extended for seemingly 6 months. I don't even know how long it's actually been, but um, benched at Milan. So just seeing him be able to put together a good game was good. I don't love I will talk about this maybe a little bit next week, but obviously they subbed everybody at halftime kind of thing, and seeing the likes of Christian Roldan and like Sebastian Berhalter in there, I'm just like, dude, like this is really like if McKennie or Adams can't play, like this is what we're rolling with. It's kind of
yeah.
a little bit depressing, but yeah, overall is good performance from what I saw, and hopefully we can take that into. Are we playing Germany next? Is that
We
what I
are
was seeing?
Saturday. We played
Yeah,
Germany last
that'll
tune-up.
be a great test. 'Cause, I mean, you'd think that they're going to be putting out their number one squad to play against us, and we should be doing the same. I don't want to see B team guys out there and Poch still tinkering with the squad. Like this needs to be the closest thing to your starting 11 that you got out there, outside of maybe like Chris Richards, who's still coming back from injury.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play the starters for at least 3 quarters because
Yep.
it's also like continuity. Like I would even dare say you need to play them the entire game. Get like one full game, whole squad. And I understand there's always risk for injury. There's always this, there's always that, but like it's so close to the World Cup that it's like we just we got to see the product on the field. And also, if it could harken back to when we beat Spain in the Federation Cup leading up to the World Cup. Like and just like the momentum we took into that World Cup and like everyone getting behind the US. Now it could go the other way where we get absolutely slapped with our starters on the field against Germany and we have zero hope going into the World Cup. So, it works against you that way. But like if you can play your starters and actually get a result against Germany, imagine the momentum, imagine the fans like getting behind you and being like, man, we can actually do something special this World Cup on
Yeah.
home soil, which would be awesome. But that kind of leads me into my question that I have here in the doc for you. Do you think that we are capable of doing something historic, which would technically be what, quarters? Because we've made,
I mean,
uh,
technically we got third place in the first one, but I only had
well,
like eight
that's,
teams in there.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, I think it would be quarters.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
if I'm not mistaken.
do you think that's in the cards for this squad on paper going into the World Cup, or do you think history will repeat itself and we'll only make it to the round of 16 and be outed by somebody?
No, I do not think we can get to the quarters. I don't think our squad is good enough. I think we'll be lucky enough to get out of our group and win one game, which, by the way, there's round of 32 now because the World Cup is so freaking big now. But I think we'll be good if we get out of our group and win one game. I think that's kind of the expectation. Anything beyond that's going to be fantastic. I mean, who knows? We could get like a really lucky draw, and kind of get second or possibly even third. Sometimes like these things are weird where like we'll get like second or third, let's say for example, and then because of other people also kind of not performing as well, they'll be second or third. So the team that got first in another group is actually paired with you. So like if we get some kind of situation like that where we get lucky with the draw or something like that, I can see us maybe putting something a little bit special together. But do I think we're going to make it to the quarters? No, absolutely not. Not with the squad that we have. I don't think it's deep enough. I don't think we have enough skill guys and some of those lethal threats in the key positions that some of the other bigger teams have.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I hate saying that out loud because, like, you want to have big expectations, but, like, just seeing leading up to the World Cup, like, what we have and the players that we have, not saying we don't have good players and not even saying we don't have some better players than we did in previous World Cups, but just, I think we're just so behind and soccer and football around the world just keeps progressing and we're progressing as well, but we're just always going to be behind in that case. So I'm right there with you. I don't see anything special happening. I would love to see it happen. I'm just more going into it like, do not embarrass ourselves. Do not get grouped or
Yeah.
anything close to
And
that. Like, we cannot be embarrassed on home soil.
yeah, I totally agree. And the format too, like with this expansion and like how many teams go to the next round too, it's going to be hard to get grouped. So if we get
Yeah.
grouped from this, like we'll basically have to finish last in our group, which is
Yeah.
going to be pretty hard even with the teams that we do have to play. But yeah, that would just be, an all time. Like I actually think that the format, like it devalues the group stage games because you could get a couple ties and lose your third game and still kind of scrape through as a third place team because so many of the third place teams go through.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'll be super devastating if that happens. And just to add on to your point too, I think after the 2022 World Cup where we had so many guys, like we did okay, kind of the norm for us. We get out of our group, we lose kind of thing. But there were so many guys that were super young and already contributing to a significant level on the national team and playing for teams in Europe. You kind of thought, dude, next cycle is going to be like the
Right.
best. Like we're going to be hosting. All these guys are going to have 4 more years under their belt. And like, I feel like so many of those guys that we did take to the 2022 World Cup, like they just haven't panned out like we thought they did.
Yeah.
Like Timmy Way is kind of the same player he was 4 years ago, still kind of playing for the same level of teams. Like we've got Jedi Robinson, who like everyone wants to pay, like kind of say that he's like this elite left back. He's not elite. Like he's not getting talked about in like those elite conversations for his position. Like Yunus Musa was like on top of his game. Now he didn't even make the squad.
Not making the
Like,
squad. Yeah.
so like so many of these guys where you're like, dude, like we're going to be so stacked in 2026, like so many of them just kind of fell by the wayside, didn't really perform. Some of them had injuries here and there that just didn't really, didn't help them at all either. But it's just kind of been disappointing to see kind of just the roster, that's how it's developed over the last couple years, and just what we're rolling with in this World Cup is just kind of a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, it is. I remember the talk, like you were saying, from the 2022 World Cup was just like, yeah, these guys are so young. Just imagine when it's on home soil and it's in 2026, like all these guys will be hitting their primes and you'll be so much better and this and
Yeah,
that and the other. And it doesn't feel like that. Feels like a
yeah,
lot of the players that we took to the 2022, like you said, they're the same players, same styles, same this, same that, just a little bit older. I mean, telltale sign, we're taking Tim Ream again. And I love me
yeah.
some Timmy Ream, but like
Captain now.
Captain Tim Ream, like I kind of like that to have an older voice as the captain. Like Tyler Adams was good
Yeah.
last World Cup as our captain, but like man, everyone was talking about like, yeah, this team will look different. Like you'll have your core guys, but Tim Ream's definitely not going to be in the squad. Lo and behold, we
Hmm.
got Tim Ream in the squad. Not only that, captain, most likely starting.
Yeah.
And it's just
And
like that's the best we have. Like we had to bring back Tim again. Nothing against Tim Ream. Love him, especially 2022, coming off one of his best seasons with Fulham. Like, made perfect sense. Played himself into a spot when he wasn't even on the radar, and now he's kind of like a mainstay in the squad just because we really don't have anybody else. No one's proven that they can
Mark
take that
McKenzie.
spot from him. And it's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? What
Yeah.
are we doing?
And his biggest problem too, or one of his mistakes too, is like leaving Fulham like a year early and going to, what's he playing for, Charlotte or whatever now?
I think so.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like even if I was him, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna make it like one more year and really try to be, because like I don't think if he's making a move like that to the MLS, like you have to be thinking like he's not really gonna expect to be in contention for the World Cup squad. He's just kind of like, riding off into the sunset. He's kind of in his last years, which is true. But like, if I was him, I'd be like, I'm still in the national team. Like, I'm still at a decent team in the Prem, like playing really good. Like, hang on one more year to get to the World Cup year. And like, who knows what his form looks like if he stays there and stays with that team. And, you go into the MLS where like he's obviously lost form, but you're also playing against teams that are a lot, just a lot worse. You're going from some of the best teams in the world to the MLS, which I don't think in hindsight was a great move for him. But maybe he'll surprise some of us, which I would love, but we'll see.
Maybe it's just hard when the game gets younger and you're just older. And
as captain, that basically means he's going to start, right? So it's like him and Chris Richards, like
with Chris Richards coming off of a freaking ankle injury, like bro, our back line is already just, I don't know, man. Like, again, just to kind of reiterate what we were saying, don't have very good expectations for them. Just don't embarrass ourselves in front of the entire world on home soil is kind of the goal that we have for the US. Obviously that was a little long-winded on the US, kind of a deep dive on that. Next week we'll have just a deep dive on the entire tournament. We'll talk all the team, not all of them, obviously there's a ton of them, but obviously we'll highlight some of the teams that At least we'll highlight the teams that we think can make a good run, some of the storylines going into it. Like, I mean, did you see that? This is why we'll never be a proper footballing country. The literal Brazil planes taking the teams to the U.S. Freaking, they baptized them with fire trucks before they left. I was just like, we are so. And then I'm seeing reels about this. Did you see the reels about the chants that the USA fans were doing? The most Mickey Mouse clubhouse.
Always been like that though for us. Oh man,
like the stark difference between what one country is doing, which arguably is like the biggest footballing nation in the world, to our little Mickey Mouse clubhouse fans. Like, I was just like, this is why we'll never win a World Cup. Like, we're gonna be dead and gone by the time we are any sort of competitive.
Probably.
So, yeah, it's just like I said, we'll dive into more World Cup next week, and obviously keep tabs on that as the tournament's happening. Hope everybody enjoys that, and we'll give some final picks next week on who we think will come out on top, who we want to win it, and we'll just dive headfirst into it and get you all ready for the games next Thursday. But with that being said, I think that's a pod, Sammy.
That is a pod.
We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hope everybody enjoys the finals kicking off tonight. Obviously, game 1 is happening currently right now. But if you guys could please go and like and subscribe on the video here on YouTube, that would help us out a ton. Also go to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, rate us and follow us there. Push us out to more people. And we would appreciate that a lot. And we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.